feel like there is one thin line that separates knowing what to do and not knowing what to do. We all eventually become faced with hard decisions, tough decisions in life, whether it be with people or financial choices, what have you. I feel the one thin line that separates knowing what to do and not knowing what to do is the human will. A lot of us know what we need to do. A lot of us know the changes that we need to make. But a lot of us, and when I say a lot, I mean at least 99.9% of us, lack the will to act on it. And that's not an insult towards anybody that has that will to act on it, because I'm part of that 99.9%. So I really can't rag anybody that also has this. Having the will to make the tough choices, it's very hard. It's easier said than done. It's way easier said than done. Genuinely not knowing what to do, that's a different story. If you're truly trying to figure out what choices I need to make, yes, you're struggling to make the choice. But there's a difference between struggling and conflicted. Struggling means you're really trying to find the answers. Being conflicted means that you know the answers, but those answers scare you. So you're afraid to act on the answers. You're afraid to act on the answers that will create the resolution that you need to make. And that is a natural fear that we all have, that we all need to overcome, that we constantly overcome all of our lives, especially all of our adult lives. Making the hard choices is hard. That's why they're called the hard choices. Easy decisions, they're easy. What do you want to eat tomorrow? What do you want to eat today? What do you want to do tomorrow? You know what I mean? What outfit do you want to wear? These are easy choices. Hard choices are hard for a reason. Because they're not basic. They represent necessities. Hard choices always represent necessities, the necessary changes that we need to make in our lives, the necessary financial decisions, the necessary decisions that help us with our mental health, the things that we know are going to make us feel better, that are going to help us in the long run. These are the hard, tough choices. Having the will to act on the choices that we need to make, it's very tough. So if you find yourself conflicted with the choices that you need to make, take a minute, breathe. Don't feel bad, because guess what? You are part of the 99.9 percentile. By that I mean this: you are part of the human race. We all struggle with the conflicted decisions. We all do. That's why it's called conflict. It's a mental conflict. These are things that we go through. The hard decisions, the rational decisions that we know we need to make, that we struggle with. It's tough. Yes, it is. But always tell yourself, it doesn't mean that it can't be done. It doesn't mean that that hard choice can't be made. It doesn't mean that you will never be able to put your foot down and create the necessary boundaries that you need to make, that you need to create. It can be done. Hard, yes, it's supposed to be. The things that are necessary in our lives, of course, they're going to be hard. But they can be done. Another thing that makes hard choices so hard is that a lot of hard choices require sacrifice. By sacrifice, you're going to have to give something up. You're going to have to give up old habits. You're going to have to give up old methods to cope with the things that you're dealing with. You're going to have to create new ways to deal with old stress, to deal with old emotions that always come back. Sacrifice. And it's a word that a lot of people don't like, and understandably so. You know, the hardest sacrifices require the strongest will. I'm sure we've all heard that before. Most recently, that's one of the most famous Marvel quotes from an MCU movie. The hardest making that sacrifice, it requires a strong will. The tough decisions require the strongest will. You have to have the will to act on it. But don't beat yourself up if you have a hard time creating that, if you have a hard time making that decision. Don't stress yourself on it. Just know that eventually it's going to have to be done. And just know that it can be done. And more than likely it's going to be beneficial to you, especially in the immediate future, maybe in the distant future. But regardless, in the future, it's probably going to benefit you. Does it hurt letting things go? Does it hurt sacrificing things? Yes. But sometimes the things that we hold on to are the things that are hurting us the most. And how do you know that? Because you feel that conflict. You feel that conflict in your heart. Every time you grab onto it, you feel that conflict. It's a constant struggle. Let go or not let go, to be or not to be. Don't be afraid to let go sometimes. Basically, the difference between knowing what to do and knowing what not to do, and that's that line, the thin line I was talking about, it really boils down to knowing the difference between conflict and struggle. Are you conflicted, or are you struggling for an answer? Or are you conflicted with the answer that you know you have and the solution that you know you have to get to, or are you really struggling to figure it out? I remember I had a job once that I was there for 2 years, and it was pretty recent. This was a few years back. And towards the end, my mental health was really at risk. I mean, heavily at risk. I mean, there would be nights where I would dread going into work. I dreaded it. I absolutely hated it, and it would kill me on the inside every time that alarm would go off. I knew I would have to go in and just sacrifice another 8 hours of my mental health, only to come home and really not be able to come down, because once again I came home and I asked myself, why did I do that again? Why did I do that again? I mean, was it just for finances? I wasn't financially struggling. I knew that. But I also have a strong work ethic, to whereas I can't just walk out. I can't just leave. But at the same time, here's where the conflict comes in. My work ethic and my mental health were battling each other. It was a heavy conflict. And it was to the point where I gave up on so much of my passion, so much of the things that I love to do, the friends that I love to hang out with, the joy really wasn't there. I was just struggling, and I didn't know what to do. Finally, one day, and I know this is really against my work ethic and my code, I walked out. I walked out on my job because I had to make the tough choice: work another 8 hours and destroy myself, or sacrifice this job and save my mental health, save myself from another couple months of therapy, save myself from another few years of just depression and just stuck in this bottle, just stuck in this life that I know I didn't want. I know I didn't want it. I knew that this was killing me. It was destroying me. I don't urge anybody to ever walk out, to walk out on a job. But let me tell you something. When your mental health is at risk, sometimes walking away is the best thing to do. And I know to some that may seem cowardly, but once again, do you let go, or do you hold on to these things that you know are hurting you? So I made the difficult choice. I walked out. I left. I sacrificed a lot, but I got rid of the conflict. And I finally was able to come down and realize, you know what? For the first time in a long time, I set a boundary for myself. And I told myself, never again will I let anything or anybody destroy my mental health. I told myself that. And to this day, I've held up to that promise. It's tough. It's still tough making those decisions, but they can be done. Once again, that's why they're called the tough decisions. You can make those tough decisions. Obviously, it's going to be tough. It's going to be hard, but ask yourself, struggle or conflict? Folks, if you reached the end of this video, I want to thank you guys once again for tuning in. Also, if you're new to my channel, don't be a stranger. Hit the like button, subscribe, and share. And if nobody else tells you, I'll tell you. I'm proud of you. Keep it up.